Hi, welcome to The Balancing Act, the interview series that takes a behind the scenes look at the world of business, exploring how entrepreneurs, executives, leaders have succeeded and what they learned through the process. I'm your host, Cary Shields. Today, we are joined by Kyle Whalen, owner of Back Construction. Kyle, thank you for joining us today.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Why don't you kick us off by just telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in being a business owner?
I got in it the same. I don't know. You're familiar with the E-Myth, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, Michael Gerber.
Yeah. So I was a consummate technician. With me and three other guys got out of college. Well, two of us got out of college, and two of the others got out of minor league baseball.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
we came together, and it was Billy, Alvin,
Mhm.
Chuck, and Kyle. And
Uh,
we
okay.
so that's back. It's not Mr. Back. It's just back. So we started framing houses and doing carpentry work, and then uh, just whatever we could to make a living. That was in 81. 81, you didn't have the internet, so we didn't know how bad the economy was, because anybody that lived through that, they knew that people that were in the building business knew about 24% construction loans.
Yeah.
Now people are complaining about 6% on a home mortgage. I'd say
Yes.
they're nuts.
Yeah.
No
My,
memory, no memory. But we just worked. Eventually, we were down to two partners, and after trying a lot of different things, we got focused on remodeling. And when we focused on remodeling, we got pretty good. And we were ahead of the game, because remodeling in the 90s, in the early 2000s, remodeling it wasn't the industry it is today. I
no,
think
okay.
I think we beat the curve.
Very cool. It definitely is wildly known today, and a lot of pretenders out there, but there's a handful of really good,
Oh
design.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's basically we went from technician to entrepreneurs, and and eventually we were a 40-year old overnight sensation.
So, and the original four, are they your three partners? Are they still around? They still with you, or are they?
No, we eventually the early on we lost the A, and then a little bit of that was probably in the first 6 months, and then
Oh,
after 6 months, after a year, we lost the B,
wow.
and me and Chuck were together for 20 years, and I bought Chuck out, and
Yeah.
I had and I one of our longtime employees became our junior partner, and then so he ended up, he's now the CEO. I'm the CFO, and I'm chairman of the board, because in at the end of 20, beginning of 21, we we formed an ESOP trust,
Mm-hmm.
and we sold our business to the 100% of it. We sold to the ESOP.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're 100% employee owned. I'm still an owner.
Yeah.
Not as big an owner as I once was, but I'm getting paid, and it's really good. The ESOPs are really good for continuity, succession, so
Cool.
forth. The Maintaining the legacy, which was really important to us.
So expand, if you would, on I'll take it that the B and the A, Chuck sold out. He's sold to you. So
Yeah.
Billy and Alan, you know, was
Four partners are tough. It's
it's
hard to get,
it's hard to get, yes.
you're sitting
Yeah.
around in a living room one afternoon, kicking around what we're going to do when we got out of college, and we said, "Well, we'll just form a company. And this is what we'll do." You're Billy, Alvin, Chuck, and Kyle, and if you kick Billy, Alvin, Chuck, and Kyle around, there's no other way to spell a word other than back.
Right.
That's the only way.
Right.
You
Yeah.
try it, you can.
Yeah.
Then anything, it starts with a B. So at that time in the 80s, we still had the yellow pages. The yellow pages were an important advertising vehicle. So it was a B. So you either need to be at the very beginning of the alphabet or at the very end.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were at the pretty close to the front, not all the way to the front, but pretty close.
Was it, would you say, and trying to ask respectful questions, would you say it was the emotional strain, or did a greater opportunity come along for Billy or Al?
A greater opportunity to got along came along for Billy, I would say.
Mhm.
I think for Alvin, I don't think he had he wasn't uh, he didn't have the work ethic, nor me and him didn't get along.
Well, that often happens. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's an incredible emotional strain. And yeah, I've worked with companies. I knew the experience myself where, it when there's not the trust there,
Oh
conversations
yeah, yeah.
become
Well,
very,
personalities. I think there's just some certain personalities that mesh.
and some that don't. Yeah,
Right. Exactly.
100%.
I think that once you realize that, you'll it's the same as culture.
Yes.
Kind of hard to describe, but you know it. It's kind of like the court said about porn. You'll know it when you see it.
Right. That's right. So let's talk about the CEO. He was a longtime employee, and
Yeah, he's you know yeah, what is the program, EOS
traction.
traction, you have the visionary, and then you have the implementer.
Yes.
And Rob, my junior partner, who's now the CEO, he's a really good implementer.
Very cool.
I'm more big picture, not as much hung up on the details. But if
Very.
you don't have that note, and a lot of people call it a number two, you got to have a number two.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that people don't understand, in a business.
Mhm. Yeah. There was one of my interviews. He was a younger gentleman, and his company is owned by a company, or so he's part owner, and one of the other owners is a company. They just invested in him, created a company to get it outside themselves. And when he first got the offer, he said he's talking to me about it. He said he didn't like it. In the end, um, he liked it because of the experience and advisement. I would
Right.
think Rob very much appreciates having your experience and your advisement and his decision making, the board meetings, basically. I mean, it takes a lot of him. It takes a lot. So having the number two I agree. It's definitely there, because even if you are the number two, or whatever, however the model is, you know, it's 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 just greater thinking when there are more minds, you know, earnestly
Yeah,
focused.
I think there's two things on the number two that are important. And I think number one is that they don't have the same skill set as you.
Yes, I agree.
They need to have the same work ethic, in the same values, but they don't need to have the same skill set. And number two thing that's very helpful when it comes to succession is there needs to be a spread in age.
Okay. Yeah.
Me and Rob we're 12 years apart. So
Yeah.
that fits pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
When would you say you first started feeling that trust for him as an employee? Decade ago.
when I bought out Chuck,
You knew you were safe.
well, yeah, I wouldn't have bought out Chuck without Rob.
Awesome. Awesome. That's it. How big is the team now?
Our team,
Yeah.
leadership team, the whole team.
The
We're
whole, I guess the whole team, the back team, maybe.
the back team. We're at 73 employees right now.
Wow.
So we're decent size. We're still a small business though.
Well, that's a that's definitely got some, elevation, enough elevation for survival. So, yeah.
Yeah, the see number of employees also contributed to the ESOP decision. An ESOP, you can't do an ESOP with 2 employees.
Right. Right.
You never get it done. It wouldn't
So,
happen.
do you have a moment that was a breaker, make it or break it moment before the current structure with you and Rob, or after that current structure?
Can you clarify that? What are you asking? Was it a bad moment or a good moment or a breakthrough? And if we hadn't have done this, it wouldn't have, the place wouldn't have, we wouldn't have
Any,
been.
yeah, any
Any,
of those, anything where when you start businesses, and again, I can never remember the percentage. I should have them memorized off the top of my head. I think Michael Gerber talks a lot about them, where like half of them just they're done by the first year, and then in the second year, another 30% of those are out. Like, it's shocking. And people that start businesses, it's not like they don't have the passion nor the wherewithal. But then there are those moments, those make it break it moments, those tipping points, however you want to call it, where they're just in shock. They just never would have thought it. And now they've got to deal with it, one way or the
yeah.
other. And
Well, I tell you, I was blessed myself because my wife was a nurse, well, she's a retired nurse. She just retired a year ago. So, but she had a good salary.
okay.
It was a long time coming before I made what she made.
Right.
It was a long time coming before I made in our business what I made as a bartender.
Right. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I had a backstop. But if you look at it, and that people ask you, so what's the secret to success in small business? And you open with perseverance, and that's exactly what it is. He says if you want to succeed in small business, stay in business. It's just stay in business because we've been in debt. We've probably been in debt. Uh, yeah, we make a pretty good bottom line right now, but we used to be in debt greater than 5 years of bottom lines.
Right. Right.
Because we made so many mistakes, we didn't have it figured out.
Mhm.
But we stayed at it, and then we paid everybody. We didn't file bankruptcy. We didn't run from our creditors and our vendors that were very valuable. And we're in a 400,000 MSA. You know how big Lexington is. It's not huge. So most everybody, especially in a certain industry, knows each other. So paying those bills was very important
Yes. Yes, sir.
for your survival and for your continued strength. So people trusted us because I remember being on a job while I was out pouring concrete, and we'd stop at lunch and I'd make my phone calls to everybody I owed. Okay, I'll have something for you on Friday. No, I won't have anything for you this week.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll have you something this week, or I'll have you paid off.
Yeah.
So we did that, and we earned the respect of our vendors, and people didn't worry about us. I wasn't running, but and quite frankly, the bar is pretty low when it comes to that in small business.
Yeah.
So that's a shame. But that was a big inflection point, owing that money. But then the even bigger inflection point was paying it off.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Once it's free and clear. And then it becomes,
Mm.
what follows up with that is once you get into the black, uh, the use of that, how it's used then. Because what's the, I think I don't have to ask, what do you expect when with the company? Like it's a good year in the black. But what do you know in the back of your head?
Well, I tell you what. Speaking of that, though, once we were always working on making the business profitable. And one of the reasons Rob was a good hire because in our business, estimating is everything.
Hmm.
Like if you want to sell, you got to sell for the right price.
Hmm.
If you don't know your cost, if you don't know what something, because we don't have a plant we work inside of. We go to your house and we do the work there.
Yeah.
So we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So that was key. And then having a bookkeeper, the hiring a bookkeeper, hiring a good estimator was huge. But we really make the leap when you hire your salespeople
Yeah.
because so many small businesses, the guy selling it is the owner, and the sales force stops there, and that that just won't.
Yeah.
You got to have something to some. You have to have something to build, and you got to
Yes.
have it in there, and you got to have it. What we work on now, our biggest thing that we work on now is leveling that out.
Huh.
So we're selling and producing it. It's not always equal, but it's a lot flatter than it used to be. I mean, as far as always having work in front of you, not having
Yes.
time off or too much. Of
Yeah.
course, we don't want, but we're selling this way.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. In the estimations, I was thinking earlier, I wanted to ask, when you were saying you turned the corner to figure things out, and then you mentioned estimations, being really good at estimating with that job. I often find that companies they've not done they don't have their own data of information, their own analytics, so to say. Did you go through a period where you really start realizing, you know, yeah, to refurbish a 1,000 square foot room, this is at baseline is what we're looking at,
Now,
and
we don't estimate that way.
no, of course not. But you would know, right? You must surely have learned, like,
We have an idea.
yeah,
And
some,
the other thing you do in our business and uh, I think another thing that makes you successful is focus. So our business, we do remodeling. We have general remodeling. And general remodeling is our jobs over 50,000.
okay,
Anything under 50,000 that's remodeling goes into handyman because doing a 50,000 and below job is a little different than doing a 500,000. And then we break it down in that too. We have a project manager that does huge jobs, and we have a couple that do the big jobs, and then we have two or three that do the medium size, and
okay,
everything else goes to handyman. But we also do roofing.
oh
So
wow,
roofing is highly specialized. So that's good.
yeah,
That came about because I hired a guy and he knew how to roof.
right, Right. Yeah. So making the lemonade out of lemons, so to say.
Yeah, so and we had handyman roofing, and we now do windows and doors, and plus we have a design team. So that's another cost center, or income producing.
The so to the team, how do you, in your opinion, is a team environment, like, is it important?
Of course, it is. It has to be. That's part of who we are. I
Awesome.
think I think that, and also that's what every small business, as you grow, you got to fight off. Kind of like a football team. You don't want the defense and the offense to be on each other. Oh yeah, we scored enough points, but y'all couldn't play any defense.
Right. Right.
Sounds
Yeah.
like LSU or what. So what I'm getting at is you got to prevent those silos.
Hmm.
Your production team, we got production, design, and we have sales, and then admin holds it all together.
Sure.
But you don't want sales, especially when your sales are commission based.
Hmm.
There's a lot of animal. You got to fight that. Well, we could have made the GP if y'all had sold it right, or you'd have made the GP if you'd have managed it right. Or
Right.
so you got to fight that constantly. And what we do, Rob does a good job. We autopsy all our jobs when
Right.
if they miss by a certain degree on gross profit.
Ooh, I like that. I've never heard someone use that phrase before. Autopsy it. So basically, you look at it, break it down to look.
Yeah, and then you'll see it on our closed job report. You can see Rob's got it. Well, the production manager and the salesman, they came to agreement. Okay, this job was 40% on the production side and 60% on the sales side for not hitting the estimated number. So they
Wow.
come to agreement on that, and hopefully we learn from it.
Right. So a great data analytic, I think, that the team can look at to say, okay, yeah, this is how we could avoid repeating that, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
That is.
we try to not repeat it. But I think that's another part when your business grows is if you've learned something, making sure that learning goes throughout your organization. That becomes harder as you grow.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. So, and with so someone just, I think we touched on someone just starting off. So someone that's basically, they're standing upright, you know, but they can't, like they're really kind of like they can't do more because they're drowning in all that they're doing already. It's working, but they can't get to the next level. What do you what would if someone was talking to you, no matter what it was, I got a shoemaking company, and gosh, I'm just making shoes all day, every day. What what would you say to that business owner that just can't get to that next level?
Uh, I would say it's two things. Number one is don't be afraid to hire people. Don't be afraid to hire people.
Mhm.
Because I tell you what, when I made key hires, like I said, an estimator, a bookkeeper, the first salesman, you know, uh, project manager, a production manager, splitting it up into divisions. Don't be afraid to hire. And then the other thing, mistake that I think a lot of small businesses do,
Mhm.
they 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 either do one of two things. I was talking to a young man that had his business. He had 3 or 4 employees, and he was I think he had 3 or 4 employees and he had about 3 jobs going. And I asked him how much time you spend in the office and how much time you spend out in the field or out selling everything. And he says, I spend about 40 to 45% of my time in the office. And that's, you got 4 employees and you spend almost half your time in the office. Well, first of all, you got, so what I'm trying to get to there is there's a real balance
Yeah.
between you need to run your business like it's going to get bigger. So you have to act like you're big, but you can't act too big for your business. It's a really, it's a really, really awesome tightrope.
Is it a mindset? Would you call it a mindset?
I think it is a mindset, but I think when you're getting going, you got to know what's going on in your business, and
Mhm.
you can't spend it in an office. I mean, I got a picture the girl gave to me of our first offices, and my first office was in my basement.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And we didn't spend a whole lot of time in there, but it was good because you could spend the weekends and the evenings there. So
Mhm.
that's why it was good. And and I think there's a lot about work-life balance.
Mhm. Yeah.
And when you're starting a business, there's no balance.
Yes. It really.
I'm sorry, there's no balance. Don't go into business for yourself if you want work-life balance.
Yeah, it's a lot of stamina. And I've tried to describe that to individuals who would ask me about creating their own business. And so I would describe that to them. And almost every one of them would be like, yeah, no thanks. Because I'd say that's what it's going to be for 5 years, maybe 3, but most likely 5. And then you're going to wake up 5 years in, and it's going to be running. It's going to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
But then it's, don't let it fall on its head. Yeah.
That's if you know what you're doing when you started. That was my problem. I didn't know what I was doing.
That's right. Which again gets back to, it's nice to have some way of acquiring input. I think for a lot of individuals, I'm like, make friends with individuals who have already been through it. They've already been there, and they're more than
Yeah,
happy to look back through time, and they'll recognize where you are. If you think they won't, just go out and look up the number of books written about it. They've all
yeah,
been there. And so, yeah, you've referenced 2 of my favorites. You know, I think they're very important books.
yeah.
So let's see. If if there was something, I think that was a great warning. Don't be afraid to hire employees, because I often hear people say, when I turn this corner, when I start making this amount of money, then I'm going to hire the employees. And
It's like having kids. I think.
yeah, yeah, time goes by.
Yeah, when you can afford them.
Right, right, yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. But anything else? What other warning might you give someone just starting off?
Well, I think what you say about getting knowledge, I think that's real important. And one of the things we did, we were always active in peer groups.
Oh, very good. Yeah,
But one of the things, one that wasn't industry specific was the alternative board. I don't know if you're familiar with the alternative board.
I'm not familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you put together men or women of the same in the same geographic area, maybe in different businesses and non-competing businesses, and you share ideas once a month. That was one way. Then the other thing, then we've been in industry specific peer groups. We've been a
Mhm.
thing called Remodelers Advantage, which has been wonderful for us. And we also had another one, Business Networks, was also in industry specific. So
Yeah.
I think those peer groups are really good, because then you have a network, and then you can call and
Yes.
face with somebody in a different market, and then you're not you don't become parochial. Well, because, oh, I can't charge that because of my market.
Right.
This market here couldn't afford that. Well, that's crap.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Without that external input, without that expanded knowledge, there's just
Yeah.
so much you risk missing, I think. So yeah, thank
Oh,
you
for
for
sure, without a doubt.
that. That's great. Well, Kyle, let me ask just one last thing. If someone wanted more information about you, wanted to get to know you a little bit better, or just more information about back construction, where would you send them? Where would
Well,
you?
you can email me at kyle@backconstruction.com, or you can just get on our website, backconstruction.com.
Awesome. Awesome. It is a beautiful website. I loved it. It read to me like you guys had started in new home building and then moved.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. Because there's so many new homes, like everything else, or like a new car. Wow, perfect. 5 years later, wow, everything's falling off. It's so weird. So homes are no different. Water heater, roof, everything's just got everything's in a state of decay. That I can't remember what philosophy,
yeah.
but you got to know that, and to have someone with the expertise available, like back construction. I mean, that's a that's a great entity to have for the community to have. So I'd say Lexington and or all of Kentucky is available is lucky to have back construction. How far out do you
We
reach?
go to two rings around Fayette County, two rings of county around. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll go to the northeast to Cynthiana, Harrison County,
Mhm.
and we'll be in Anderson, Franklin,
Wow.
Madison County, of
Yeah.
course, with Jessamine.
Awesome.
So,
Well, Kyle,
thank you.
yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. So, to our viewers and listeners, this wraps up another episode of The Balancing Act. I hope you found it entertaining and more importantly, some value. I mean, Kyle, you had a lot of great information to share. So, thank you for doing it. My name is Cary Shields, and until next time, do your best to stay in balance.